Welcome to the Mindful Monk, and special welcome to those who've joined us recently, this small community of people who are really interested in finding out how we can enhance our experience of this one wild, wonderful life. That's what we're after. That's what we're hunting the pluck, as Heaney says in his wonderful poem, The Diviner. Hunting the pluck. Circling the terrain, nervous but professionally unfussed. And the pluck came sharp as a sting. That's what we're after. I just want to alert you to the fact that the website that's referred to at the end of the each session, www.simonstephen.com, is now actually alive. And I am going to post things there that I'll tell you about, homilies or thoughts that may be useful to you, or indeed extended versions of these small talks, because I can't cover everything about every topic here. That gives us another outlet which I hope will be of use to you. Today I want to take up where I left off last week on Saint Benedict. You know, Saint Benedict was really writing at a moment when the world was upside down. It was really upside down. Roman culture was gone, and he was trying desperately to figure out, how am I going to put together a life that works? And that's why he wrote his rule, and that's why all the elements are in it, because it's what his, not so much formula, but what the ingredients he saw as essential for any successful life. Any successful life. I would go that far. And this rule has been going since 480, so it's got pedigree. I always think that he must have thought really long and hard about how he was going to begin off his manifesto, his little rule for beginners, as he called it, his little rule for beginners. I think we would think long and hard if we were doing the same thing. And he landed on the word ausculte. Listen. Listen. I don't think, and I know other people think similarly, that there's a more important skill or gift we can have or develop, because I don't think it's that natural, is listening. Listening to the other, really listening to the other, be that God, be that ourselves, our own hearts, what they're saying, be that the other person. It's the greatest gift we can give to another, to listen. And when I was thinking about this morning, early morning off, was saying, gosh, I think I'll do the next Mindful Monk on listening. And of course, as I say, you get the manna for the day. And Psalm 142, or probably it's 141, depending on the numbering, it says, Lord, listen to my prayer. Listen to my prayer. And then Saint Benedict every morning has us begin the day. Oh, that today you would listen to his voice. Harden not your hearts. Harden not your hearts. So critical that that's how we begin each day. And for Benedict, it was the key to the spiritual life. The key to the spiritual life, where it all begins, is with listening. And it's so important that he turns it into a vow. He makes it one of our 3 vows. I won't give you the other 2 today. But the vow of obedience. Obedience meaning ob audire in the small amount of Latin I know. Ob audire. Audire is to hear. One of our vows we take is obedience, which means we vow ourselves to listen, to obey what we hear. And I think it's very important to understand that we don't just hear with our ears. I always think of Evelyn Glennie, the percussionist, who's deaf, profoundly deaf, doesn't hear at all, but she hears with her legs. She feels the music in her body. That we hear with our bodies, our hands, our feet, all over us, our can hear the word, the nudge, the push as to what we're to do next. Oh, that today you would listen to his voice. Harden not your hearts. And Benedict he really wants to foster a culture of listening in his monasteries, in his communities, because that's what will help it to thrive and prosper. And he says to the abbot, always take counsel and you won't make a mistake. And he also says, listen to the younger, because God often reveals what's best to the younger. The youngest, I think that's extraordinary. I don't know what institution or company would say, listen to the youngest person that last in, because they may have something to say. But that's part of Benedict's genius. So I'd suggest that listening takes practice. Close our eyes and listen. The soundscape, the soundscape around us is probably far more interesting than the sightscape, the landscape, because the soundscape keeps changing. I always remember that when I was in Kenya in Africa, sitting outside my tent, and the soundscape in the early morning would be totally different from the soundscape in the evening, yet the landscape was the same. So practicing listening, it's not something we're terribly good at, because our world is dominated by sight. Our world and our brain is dominated by sight, by image. We're looking at things all the time, and we're forgetting the power, the wonder, and the transformative ability of being listened to and listening to someone. There is probably nothing more healing for a person than to be fully listened to. I know that from the first therapy I attended in 1982, the most extraordinary feeling, and I can still sense it, was that I was with a person for an hour, sitting in front of me, and he was listening. I knew he was with me, and it gave me the freedom to tell my story such as I could. But it was the first time I really felt someone was listening to me. And he was checking out whether he was hearing right. He was summarizing what I was saying and making sure he knew. So, before I take off on the listening and trying to espouse it, but I do know how transformative it is. The ministry of listening is something we can all engage in and give to other people. So, with that thought, I'll love you and leave you and hope you're warm, safe and well.